We all set, Eddie?
Probably be about 30 more seconds. I'll let you know.
Oh, got it.
Okay, we are live and recording.
Great. Good evening, everybody. This is Ryan Holte, BZA Vice Chair. Running as the chair tonight with Mr. Gentile out, and I kind of feel like that quarterback that has been called into the the end of the game for the first time and is going to get to toss the ball around. So I'll ask right up front for a little flexibility here if I have any procedural missteps. That said, let's call this BZA session to order. It's Monday, August 31st, and let's begin with a roll call.
All right. Mr. Sander. Here. Mr. Holte.
Here.
Mr. Lemke.
I'm here.
Mrs. Holman.
Here.
Mr. Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Burr. And Mr. Gentile. All right, and we have a quorum.
Okay, great. And we'll do as we always do. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. First order of business tonight is to review and approve the hearing minutes from April and May. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those minutes? And does anybody desire to make any changes or updates to those minutes? Okay. Can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the month of April?
So moved, Lemke.
I'll second. Lynn.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the May meeting?
So moved.
I'll make that
Hayes.
motion.
Motion second? You have a second there?
Was that
Who made-
Mr. Hayes was the motion?
I was going to
No,
ask who made the motion.
Bob Sander.
Okay. And who made the second on that one?
Nobody yet. I'll make. the
Okay.
I'll second it. Hayes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, if the minutes approved at this point. I'd like to have those participants presenting tonight to take their oath for this hearing.
Mr. Holte, real quick,
Yep.
just procedurally, if we can just get a vote for each of the minutes, since we have a first and a second, just so we get the old vote there.
Yep.
All right, so I guess April 27th, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None? All right.
I need to abstain. I was not there. Hayes.
All righty. All right, and for the May minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And opposed?
And Lemke abstains because he was not at the May 27 meeting.
All right, excellent. It's all you, Mr. Holte.
Okay, now I'd like to do take the oath for the public hearings tonight. Can I, Eddie, can I have you unmute the participants and have those participants identify themselves?
Yep, absolutely.
So I heard Mr. Roush, you're on the line, is that right?
No, this is Carl Hartman.
Yes, I'm on. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Roush will, actually, Mr. Hartman, we'll start with you, and it looks like you've got your,
Also present is Neil Patel and Sam Patel.
let's start with your oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that you will tell the truth in these proceedings? If each of you could answer, that'd be great.
Yes, I will.
Yes. Yes, I will. So,
Yes, I will.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
do.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, with that said, the first case before us tonight is case number VC 2020-007. This is for a dimensional variance at 1335 State Route 125. Eddie, I guess we'll start with the staff presentation.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Holte. So the first request here is variance case 2020-007. It's an application for one-dimensional variance from Pierce Township zoning resolution 6.06, specifically general business front yard setback to allow an addition on an existing structure submitted by Mr. Carl Hartman for property located at 1335 State Route 125, Pierce Township, Ohio. Now, as you can see, the property is highlighted here in bluish green. It's approximately 0.63 acres. It's currently operates as a retail commercial use. It's zoned general business, and the underlying land use is listed as business corridor. This is the applicant's submitted site plan, which, if you give me one moment here. Let's see.
Little notebook. Thank you.
There's some fancy tools here I thought I'd be able to use. It's not really working out as well as I thought here. But if you look to the south of the site along White Oak, you can see the proposed addition on the bottom portion of the screen. It's proposed for approximately, I believe, 7.1 feet off of the right-of-way. Through the review, staff reviewed the materials in accordance with 3.08B2. The following factors shall be considered and weighed by the BZA to determine practical difficulty in deciding whether or not to grant, deny, or approve with modification the variance. So whether or not special conditions or circumstances exist with the property or structure, staff determined that there do not appear to be unique circumstances with the property. It appears that based off of a review of prior regulations, that the front yard setbacks between 1968 and 1972 were 40 feet. The current setbacks for the general business district today are also 40 feet. Staff believes that the property could yield a reasonable return in the event that a variance is not granted. The variance does appear to be the minimum necessary, however, and it is substantial.
So right now, it's just gonna be what's on
Character, and this is actually a typo. Character does appear to be adversely affected based upon the addition's facade. The physical location and impact appear to be benign, however. The architecture of the proposed structure appears to be deficient. Staff recommends against faux windows, for example. And again, this is something that could be accommodated. Mr. Hartman has also addressed this as well, and he will, I'm assuming during his presentation, address this. Per the Pierce Township zoning resolution, all visible elevations shall include decorative features such as cornices, pilasters, and friezes. Building recesses and protrusions are strongly encouraged on larger buildings to break long, uninterrupted building walls. And for this, staff believes that it would be appropriate to just have a actual functional window instead of just a blank facade or a faux window. There will not appear to be any adverse impacts to the delivery of governmental services. And it also does not appear that the owner created the circumstances for the variance. As far as the proposal is concerned, there do not appear to be additional options aside from considering a smaller addition on the building. The applicant's request appears to meet the spirit and intent of the resolution, aside from the architectural issues. In particular, a significant argument could be made that the character of the subject property is proceeding to a more urbanized form. Staff believes that due to the proximity of the subject property to nearby residential, a more walkable, dense, and less vehicle-oriented site generally complies with the intent of the resolution and plans. Specifically see objective of the Pierce Township zoning or land use plan rather, diversify the existing commercial base while balancing the needs of nearby residential neighborhoods and maintaining quality of life. The applicant does not appear to be obtaining a special benefit through the granting of this variance. And staff's findings can be seen below in summary. Upon review of the foregoing, staff has determined that literal enforcement of this resolution will result in practical difficulty in accordance with 3.08 of the zoning resolution. Staff recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals consider conditional approval of the application contingent upon the applicant complying with all federal, state, and local regulations, and that the proposed artificial windows be replaced by functional windows or an alternative as approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Two quick items as well. I just wanted to state for the record that both applications have been properly advertised. Additionally, Mr. Hartman submitted a letter that I can put up on the screen. I don't know that it's officially necessary since Mr. Hartman is participating in the meeting, but at his request, I'd be happy to share it and we can put it in the official record.
Would you please?
Okay. Okay. So I will pull this up very quickly here.
And for clarity, before we move on to the applicant presentation, there was architectural deficiency. Was that limited to the window? Was that staff's only concern when they referenced that?
Yes, it was. And here's Mr. Hartman's letter that he submitted that this weekend here as something to be considered in the event that there was any hardship or anything with the meeting. So I can place this into the official record in minutes as well.
Would it take too much trouble to read that?
Please
Not at
do.
all. I can read it. All right. Per Mr. Hartman, we are in receipt of your staff report and we shall diligently try to connect by Zoom meeting. However, it is oftentimes difficult to teach an old dog new tricks. While we would desire to be attending the meeting and answer any questions, we could summarize our comments as follows. Staff has prepared a thorough report and we concur with the staff recommendations and hope that the board agrees. The contingent items are acceptable and we believe that the details can be easily resolved by working with the staff. I shall be with Sam as we try to connect. However, we shall be available by cell phone and shall desire to answer any questions. Respectfully submitted, Carl Hartman.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Thanks, Eddie. Mr. Hartman, that seems to be a great segue to you for the applicant presentation.
Well, thank you so much. Well, first of all, I know we're overcoming these difficulties. I want to thank Neil here for being our IT expert. I have with me tonight Sam. Sam, if you know, is basically a icon within our community. I live at 3478 Holly Ridge, and I go past the store quite often and see a lot of traffic and business there. Sam took some 20 plus years ago, a site that was not very well successful in marketing and has made it to grow to be that everybody knows who Sam is and his friendly smile and his success. One of the things that has happened though, that through his success, he's running out of room. He has the desire of his clients to provide more space, to provide more products and give him an opportunity to buy in larger quantities. So therefore he needs this addition to continue to grow. Sam, quite frankly, is part of the American dream in that he's taken a site that was not successful and through his efforts and hard work has made it a success. One of the things that we are incorporating when we look at building addition, we tried to make it look a little bit more. We put a slanted roof on it, a metal slanted roof, so that we reduce the overall effective height looking at it from the road. That coupled with the block, the idea of making them windows in lieu of painted box windows is perfectly acceptable to us. And we would very much, it's no problem, consider it done as far as we're concerned. We would like to be able to work out that detail and anything else, any other detail that you desire with the staff. We're welcome to answer any questions you may have regarding this case, but we urge you to support what the staff recommendation. Thank you.
I haven't officially said no yet. It's actually-
I have one question. So the required setback is 40 feet. Looks like the new setback would be about 7 feet. I see here clearly from your application that a number of other surrounding businesses don't meet that 40-foot requirement. There's no other way to mitigate that reduction in setback. Is that correct, Mr. Hartman?
Correct. Well, you know, he's got the shape of his property is a little unique. It's a triangular shaped piece of property with frontage on 2 roads. You're absolutely correct. The property across the street, the water tower, the properties out on 125, and even the properties down on White Oak on our side of the street have got fences probably within the 40-foot right setback. The building was originally built, an existing building that he has without the addition encroaches on the front yard setback too. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. One quick follow-up. And so as of today, if I'm not mistaken, there's a dumpster that is in the space that you'll be building out into. That will get pushed to the rear of the building then?
Well, we are still, Sam and I are debating. I visualize it that we will put it in an enclosure and put it maybe on the north face of the building with a block enclosure around it so it becomes more compatible with the building and have a gate in front of it so that we can close it and do that. And we think that's probably the best ideal spot to put it.
Thank you.
I would say at the northwest corner of that building up there, right where it goes down into his drive-through lane adjacent to that.
Okay. This is Lynn. Eddie, I have a question for you, I think. I don't understand the reasoning on the faux versus the real window. I just need to understand that.
Well,
No, I think Eddie in Eddie's report.
So I can put up the other, let's see here. Yeah, so staff has, we have administrative regulations for architectural features, and they generally, there's some subjectivity to it, but for the most part, certain items like imitation windows that are just opaque tend to be something that, you know, if possible, we recommend that they be avoided and replaced perhaps with an actual functional window that might have blinds or something on the other side as an alternative. So that's why staff made the comment. In particular, it was just a comment as it pertained to character, is whether or not this particular proposal had any impacts on the neighborhood's character.
So are we talking about the two spots on this thing, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, so it looks like those The black?
The four black things?
Oh, two of
Yes.
them shadows, two of them are shadows.
Oh, two of them are shadow. Okay. I think one of them might be a door, but Mr. Hartman maybe can speak to it a little bit.
The door would be on the front
It's on
elevation.
the front side, yeah.
And that would be so that when we deliver product, it could
Right.
come through there and not go through the active marketing. The one on the elevation on the left shows the two windows. Yeah, the two windows are there and one to the right. What you see, the other two black lines are the architect's shadows of the building.
Oh,
And-
I see. Okay, I got you. Okay.
See the
Okay.
sloping roof? That's the, but you can see where we got the sloping roof coming down from the top. And I'm not sure what color the architect's plan for that roof, but it gives you some sort of a softening of that elevation. But as far as putting in a real glass and having Venetian blinds or blinds behind it, one of the things that you really is a concern, you don't want people looking in and seeing what merchandise he's got stored there. And so we can accomplish that by glass and blinds behind it, and we have no problem with adhering to that.
So are you avoiding using brick? Is that what you're doing?
No, it wasn't avoiding. Actually, what we were trying to do is show different, the same materials. The others is the main elevation of the building is with split face block, which is similar to the existing building, which is the concrete block with the textured on it.
Yep,
And where the windows were proposed was going to be straight block, not featured, and painted into a different color, whether it be black, brown, or something, gray. I would suggest gray, but again, we have no problem with that being glass.
okay, okay.
A
Thanks.
follow-up question for you, Mr. Holtman, is that there is no security issues, or you don't foresee any security issues there of glass into an open storage facility?
Well, yes, there is potential. And that's another reason why we were thinking about the Fox windows. However, you know, it is right along White Oak Road. And so, you know, if somebody's going to break in, they're going to do it at some time of the day or night outside of this. There, unfortunately, if somebody wants to break in, they're going to find a way, whether it's in the front. We have a back door to this that goes in. Somebody could jimmy the door that's already there, or they could even go through the drive-through window that he has. So security is always a concern. And whether we would, personally, I would think that we could get by with fixed glass and not operable glass windows.
A follow-on question to you, Eddie. If that entire elevation, the south side elevation, were to be the split block, just a continuous wall there, staff would still have the same concern that it's too big a wall with no architectural features?
I think that they could probably get by. I think that the threshold is about 40 feet. I think that's where the limit kicks in, is if you can't have more than 40 feet of continuous, unbroken kind of wall without any sort of feature. For them, I believe that they're at around 26 feet or so. I can.
Yeah, it's under 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also at each end of the building, we have that recess. So that does give us some of that relief in your solid wall feature. We come in 8 feet from each end of the 34-foot building and have those offsets there, those 6-foot offsets. And that, I think, adds something to it also. If you look at the floor plan.
Yep.
This is Lemke, and if you had opted to put this addition on the north side of the building towards 125, you'd still have a setback issue, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, and it does not lend itself to the current operation with his.
Because it would interfere with the entrance off of 125, correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay, just wanted to make sure I'm understanding this correctly.
yes, you're correct.
And actually, the setback along 125 is more critical, in my opinion, than the setback along White Oak Road.
Ooh,
I would
not in
agree
my
with that.
opinion. Not in my opinion. I go up White Oak 10 times a day. People trying to get from 125 to White Oak aren't going very slow. So it's a well-traveled road. And I was real concerned because I went up there to look at it because I thought What I was looking at was their drive-through. And I thought, wait a minute, is that going to obstruct people going from that drive-through onto White Oak, be able to see cars coming on White Oak? And when I saw how it was positioned and where it was going to be, I felt a little better. Still, that 7 foot is really close, and it's close to a pole too, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but let me give you something else. The setback that we have of the building allows us to conform with the American Association of State Highway Officials standards for visibility. As you come through the drive-through, you have adequate sight distance in both directions with the setback as we have. It conforms with those standards.
Actually, Ms. Holman, I drove through that drive-through and I saw the visibility more obstructed by the dumpster than the building probably will be. And so if they
Right.
move that dumpster, there's probably greater sight visibility.
Okay, good.
It will be moved. You can put that as a condition.
I like that condition.
So do we. I told Sam earlier, we're probably going to have to move that dumpster, and Sam and I have been talking about it.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Ms. Holman, you are correct. There is a pole there. There's multiple poles, but
Yeah, it was going to be pretty close to that pole.
And the new concrete I'm looking at in this picture is the exit from the drive-through?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the dumpster as it sits now encroaches inside the right of way. So we would be, you go back probably about halfway back to, or not quite, about a third of the way back to dumpster is where the right of way of White Oak is. So that current dumpster is in the right of way. So we'd be an additional behind that. So the back of the dumpster would be probably about the alignment with the building. I agree with you. The dumpster needs to be moved.
Are there any residents participating online that would like to comment? Can I get a motion to close public comment, please?
well, I think it might be helpful if we see if there's anyone in the public who wants to speak. I don't know if anyone is in the public outside of the applicant, but.
Yeah, I think I just asked that, Eddie, didn't I?
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry.
You did.
Apologies.
No worries. All right. That said, I didn't hear anybody chime in from the public, so I'll ask again. Can I get a motion to close public comment, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second, Hayes.
All right. Any additional discussion on behalf of the board relating to this case? If not, can I get a motion as to approve or deny this variance request?
This is Lemke. I'll move that we approve the request with the conditions that, of course, the applicant must comply with all federal, state, and local regulations, that the faux windows be replaced by something that is mutually satisfactory to the applicant and to ultimately us through our staff. And the third condition, that the dumpster be relocated away from the new addition.
Second, Hayes.
Okay, can we get a vote on the motion? Eddie, you want to run the roll?
Absolutely. Mr. Sander,
Yes.
Mr. Lemke,
Yes.
Mr. Holte,
Yes.
Mrs. Holman,
Yes.
and Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
We will
Good
work
luck,
with
Mr.
the
Patel.
Push this.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Eddie, your audio is getting awfully scratchy.
All right.
Eddie, you're distorting somehow.
Just
Yeah, that, I think we might be maxing the bandwidth here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's pretty rough. All right. I guess we'll try to keep you quiet. All right, we're going to move on to our second case of the evening. This is case number VC 2020-008. This is a dimensional variance request for 3613 El Rigo Drive. Eddie, if your mic will cooperate, can we have you give the staff presentation or summarize the staff presentation?
Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, it's still pretty
No.
shaky.
What I can do is I can try and call in. I don't know if
Okay.
that would work.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It'd be nice if you could try that.
Okay.
Won't it be nice if we can reach a point where we can just do these things in person again?
Amen to that.
I think that's still a ways off though, from the looks of it.
I think you're right, unfortunately.
There is someone in the waiting room with a number that begins with a 585 area code. Not sure who that is or what
That's
that's
it.
about.
All right, can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Nice and
Yes.
clear.
Okay.
Much better.
All right. Terrific. All righty. So I'll try to make this short and sweet here. An application for one-dimensional variance from Pierce Township Resolution 6.05, specifically from the single-family residential front yard setback from 50 feet down to 23.37 feet to allow an addition on an existing structure submitted by agent Kent Roush for property located at 3613 El Rigo Drive, Pierce Township. This is an aerial of the proposed property. The current acreage is 0.53 acres. It's presently used for residential purposes. It's zoned single-family residential, and the underlying land use is conventional residential. The applicant's plan shows a hatched area along El Rigo Drive to the east of the property with the proposed addition. It's approximately 23.37 feet from the property line. Staff reviewed the project in accordance with 3.08B2. Specifically, the following factors shall be considered and weighed by the BZA to determine practical difficulty. Per staff's review, there do not appear to be unique circumstances on this property. The property may continue as a residential use in the absence of an approval, thus yielding a reasonable return without the variance. The variance is substantial and appears to be the minimum necessary to achieve the applicant's goals. Character does not appear to be adversely affected. There does not appear to be an effect on governmental services. However, it does not appear that the owner created the circumstances for the variance. Now, whether or not the predicament can be obviated through another method, it's staff's opinion that the addition could conceivably be placed to the rear of the structure, and upon further examination, it may be advantageous to investigate placing it to the along the southern front-facing side of the structure as well. Now, the applicant's request does not appear to conflict with the spirit and intent of the resolution. The addition does not appear to adversely impact adjoining properties while allowing the owner to add on to their existing structure. Now, structures on corner lots are required to comply with 2 front yard setbacks. A variance in this case would appear to confer a special privilege, as all properties on corners are required to comply with 2 front yards. This is a summarization of staff's findings. Upon review of the foregoing, staff has determined that literal enforcement of this resolution will not result in practical difficulty in accordance with 3.08 of the zoning resolution. It appears feasible that the applicant may place the addition to the front or rear of the existing structure and still meet setback requirements. Staff recommends that the board consider denial of the application in accordance with 3.08B2. And staff is available as well as the applicant if you have any questions.
Eddie, a question for you. I want to address the way that you said the character of the neighborhood is not affected. And that seemed to me to be incorrect, because the rest of the neighborhood going north on El Rigo on that side of the street is fairly open, and the setbacks are fairly significant, fairly substantial. This would be cutting into that visual openness going right up the street. So I think the construction of the addition where it is crosshatched does affect the character of the neighborhood. Would you agree with that modification to your assessment?
I think that it's a completely reasonable assessment. I do recognize that my interpretation there is subjective. But again, assuming that staff does recommend denial of this particular application, that would conceivably bolster that particular finding in that case. And I can actually bring this property up as well, which can help maybe in this conversation if you'd like. We have this unique technology here.
While you're doing that, the intent of my question was to bolster your case.
Sound like a good attorney.
I'm trying to copy Mr. Lemke occasionally.
Don't ever do that.
You should really make it higher than Mr. Lemke.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, while we're waiting for that, perhaps there's somebody that can tell me why the backyard extending out, I think it's to the east, through the backyard is negative. When I viewed the backyard, I saw a concrete slab. I saw some patio doors, and I saw a movable grill on the back. So I'm interested in understanding why the builder or the applicant wants to go out the side, not the back.
I think that's a great question. I actually think it makes sense at this point. Let's let the applicant give their presentation, and I'm sure Mr. Roush will speak to that.
Yes.
So without further ado, Mr. Roush, welcome, and you've heard the discussion. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Well, I'm the architect for the proposed job, and I'm actually in Mrs. Trepper's house right now. And she's here, her daughter's here, and the builder is here with me. And so the reason, I understand what you're all saying about the rear yard, and from the plan, from the exterior and all that, that does make sense. But I'm sitting in our house right now, and the whole reason for the addition was to give a space so Mrs. Tremper could age in place in the house. So I'm sitting in her living room right now, and it's a step down living room. And Mrs. Tremper already has knee issues. And I don't want to speak too badly of her because she's sitting here right here with me, but she also has a heart issue and a couple other things. So we know as time goes on, she's going to have more difficulty staying in this house. And so the ability to go out back is compromised based on the interior of the house. With the step down living room, the step would become problematic if she does get confined to a wheelchair or a walker. And then access for the rest of the house is difficult too, because it's just not set up for handicap accessibility. So the other reason for putting it on that side is, as you can see on the plans, we had a door that would exit to the driveway, and that would be a 3-foot wide door. And we would actually have a ramp in the future for that door, so she'd be able to go from the driveway directly into the house. But that was the main reason for the putting on that side versus the rear of the property. But that's kind of hard to say, you know, on paper versus sitting here in the house with them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ross. Is there anything else you'd like to add relative to your presentation?
No, I think I can answer any questions, but I think that's wraps it up for us.
Mr. Hayes and Mr. Sanders, questions from you relative to the placement based on Mr. Roush's explanation?
Well, for me, it's difficult to see the difference in elevation from the plans. They all looked like they were fairly flat, and my tour of the property it made it look that way as well. So, I'm not sure where the step down is. If it's just in the living room and the rest of the house is at a single level, then I don't understand why you couldn't add on to the back at that same level.
So,
And this is Lynn. Also on the back of the house was a big air conditioning unit, not just the slab. And it looked like it was a fairly new air conditioning unit right there. So that's not, you know, it's not just a slab that had to come up. It would be the whole air conditioning unit too, I would think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
So if the addition did go to the back, we'd probably put it behind one of the sliding doors. But there's it just a lot of the interior of the house has to be modified. I'm sure even in your own houses, the access through the kitchen, there's no 3-foot walkways. The doors that lead into the space that we'd have to go into to go to the new bedroom, there's no additional 3-foot doorways. They're all 2'6" doorways. So is it feasible? Yes, it's feasible, but it could be cost prohibitive, just the amount of interior work you'd have to do to get to the access to the back. And that's withstanding the step down in the living room. That's just looking at other alternative routes in the house too.
Additional questions, comments from the board?
Well, one of our considerations is the difficulties that alternatives present to the property owner. When you say, Mr. Roush, that it's cost prohibitive, do you have a rough estimate of that? Are we talking doubling of the cost?
Actually, I have the builder here with me. I'm going to put him on the spot.
Well, do you have alternative plans that the builder could really estimate against?
The plan that he was proposing that was going, basically, she would pull into the driveway, go through the garage, up a set of stairs, through the existing kitchen, down a hallway, and into her little addition that she stays in. So that would require in order for the plumbing, HVAC, and wiring to all work with what's existing, it would be changing the existing kitchen and the setup of where the stairs went down into the basement. The design that Brad submitted actually was my idea, and my thought process was, as she's aging, that she can get out of her vehicle, with a wheelchair or a motorized wheelchair, and just drive right up to her door and into her end of the house, kind of like a mother-in-law suite kind of thing. Putting it on the back, I knew that there was going to be an issue with the property line when I talked to the customer originally, but that was my thought process on placing it where we did.
What kind of cost would you think that would implicate, just as far as a guess?
Well, currently, the figures are around 60,000. I would think that would add probably at least 20 to 30 more, because we're going to have to do a new kitchen in the existing structure. And I'm trying to keep her on a low budget because she is elderly and they don't have a whole lot of funds to do this.
And for the record, the builder's Ron Ball, just RONBALL, just for the record.
Could you say that again, Mr. Ross? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you just said. Could you repeat that?
Oh, the builder's name is Ron, RON Ball, BALL. And that's just for the record.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. Roush, are the immediate neighbors aware of this potential project, and have any of them voiced any objection to your knowledge?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm looking at the clients and they're shaking their head no.
No, we'd like to speak.
Oh, there is. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, I talked to one of the neighbors about this the other day, and going out the side there, we didn't have a whole lot of problem with. I think going to the back, I would have a problem with, because that does block a lot of our view. The side, really, if it's going to be cost effective to do it that way, that would be my preferable way, if you guys are going to do it that way instead of out the back. Again, I've been told that they're going to put some kind of privacy fence up there. Again, it's looking pretty tight over there as it is. So again, to go out the side, I think, for me personally, that would be the way to do it.
Who is this we're hearing from?
Pardon?
Who is this we just heard from?
My name is Jerry Rose. I live right next door to him at 3609.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Eddie, can you go back to the map with the neighborhood so we can get a feel for where Mr. Rose is relative to this property?
Sorry, we couldn't.
I can't hear.
We can't hear you.
I was just asking Mr. McCarthy to put this image up on the screen. So you're at 3609 left of the parcel here.
Right.
Yeah, to the left, right.
And Mr. Roush, no contact that you know of has been made with the neighbors at 3614 or 3618 that may be more directly impacted by this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, comments, questions from the board?
So I have a question. This is Bob. Did we notify the other neighbors that this was on the agenda today?
Yes, we did.
And you haven't received any feedback whatsoever?
I just received one anonymous inquiry about the project, and I have the list in front of me here of the adjoining property owners that the mailings were sent to. 3614 and 3618 El Rigo are both included, and that is the Hawkins and the Lubering family.
There's a Dave Lubering on the call here that is muted right now, but perhaps we could hear from him.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I live across the street of that, where the addition will be put on.
Your thoughts, Mr. Woodbury?
I think one thing too, maybe before we continue on, Mr. Holty, is if we can just swear everyone in who wants to speak, just do like one last. I think maybe a couple people came into the call in between cases here. It might just be just to cover our bases. It might be advantageous.
Understood. Mr. Woodbury, do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that you'll tell the truth in these proceedings?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
You see, yes.
Okay, please.
He's asking you to tell the truth, what you have to say.
I'm sorry, I'm missing what you're saying. I wasn't, go ahead. Wait, what's going on?
Who's speaking?
This
I
is
believe
Dave,
that's Mr. Lubering.
this is Dave Lubring right now.
Okay, Mr. Woodbury, I think that was you that just took the oath, correct?
That was Jerry Rose.
Oh, okay. Technology. Mr. Lubring, I'll ask you to solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that you will tell the truth in these proceedings.
Do I tell the truth? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I hope to. Yes, I will tell the truth.
Thank you. With that in mind, could you speak to do you have any feedback or thoughts on this proposed addition that's across the street?
I'm having a real difficult time hearing what you're saying.
Do you have any feedback?
Clearly?
Everybody's gone now.
I'm right here. Dave Lubring's here.
Okay. This is Ryan. Can the board hear me?
It's in and out, Ryan.
I can, yes, I can hear something. Yes.
So do you have any feedback?
Do I have any feedback? Is this what you're asking?
Yes.
Well, this is the first I've learned of it. I did not go across. I was looking at I was going to talk to the neighbor. I didn't get the chance to see them outside to talk. So this is the first I've heard about it. I made the assumption that it would be an extension towards the east at that time.
Towards the east, Mr. Lubring, meaning towards your property?
Yes.
Are you okay with that? Do you have a feeling about that one way or the other?
When I came in to the meeting, I had a difficult time getting the audio. So I only started hearing the audio around maybe 7 o'clock. So I don't know how far east the addition will be.
It's proposed to be about 23 feet off of the property line. And so I can share an aerial here, which might help.
So the addition is 20 feet, 20 feet?
23.
23 feet. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I did hear the audio as far as coming down the street. It will like kind of make a closing in as far as, seeing more house than the openness. The openness does go away, which is kind of nice for the neighborhood. I mean, I guess I can't say that people can't. Instead of 23 feet, what would, if they don't need a variance, how much can they put on?
So the setback is 50 feet. And so the existing house is fairly questionable. I think that the survey submitted by the applicant shows that it's about 48.2 feet from the property line as it is now. So as it is now, it appears to not quite conform with the setback as required. So no addition on that end.
Excuse me, the original builder put it in correctly?
It's possible, yeah.
What's the reason for 50? I'll ask you, what is the reason to have the 50-foot setback?
Well, it probably more or less pertains to the single-family residential district and the character that is desired. The single-family residential with a 50-foot gives you a pretty significant front yard. It's the largest front yard in our residential zones. So it's to create more or less a lower density single-family development and to keep it pretty uniform while also maintaining clearance from the road as well. But
I guess I would
again,
prefer to. I guess I would prefer to continue with that. What's going back the other, like the garage? What's considered a front yard? Where the garage is, or where the side of the house is?
So the applicant actually has 2 front yards on this property here. All the frontage along El Rigo, these are all the front yards here.
Okay. Well, I guess I would like to continue with that. If you're asking me about my opinion, that's my opinion.
Well, this is Mr. Roush again. Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, that's no problem.
One thing I wanted to point out, if you look where the property line is and the right of way from the road versus the right of way from the other property line, we have a good 10 to 12 feet of right of way. Where most of the other properties are only 5 feet, they're right of way to the road. So if you look at the rest of the sites, our right of way there is more extreme than the rest of the properties too. So when we're talking to 25 feet, that's from the property line, but it's about 35 to 40 feet from the road. And I know it doesn't matter on the zoning exact numbers, but it does matter visually when you're driving down the street.
Are you talking to me, Dave Lubery?
Oh, just in general, everybody.
Okay. So I noticed that some of the other neighbors are not on this meeting. I guess because they're not on there, they don't have a vote or something. Are we doing something?
Yeah, they'd be welcome for public comment, but they might not have a comment, so they didn't decide to show up. But the Board of Zoning Appeals is the only voting persons in this meeting, though.
This is Gail Rose. Is it possible to, on your plan, on the screen that you have right now, pencil in where that addition would be?
Yeah, this is very rough, and Mr. Roush, please, feel free to shout at me whenever you feel the need.
That's extreme. It's a little big, but it's about halfway to the property line. So we're going out 24 tenths. It's about, yeah, that's not the whole depth of the house. It's a cube.
About that?
That's close, so that's about the distance out, yeah.
Can you do the same thing off the backside?
Well, like I said earlier, it's about handicap.
Again, that's just for my visual.
It
We're trying
wouldn't
to-
be there, Eddie. It'd be further to the west.
I'm sorry, could you put it on the back again? Thank you. Mm.
But it wouldn't be there, I don't think. It would be further to the west from what they were saying earlier, Mr. Roush and Mr. Ball were saying that the HVAC would stay the same and they would go more towards the the sliding doors.
Yep, that's correct.
I don't like that at all.
All of my consulting here is free of charge as well. So you guys did this, so there's no patent or anything, so you can just take this.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any opinions? Do you have any opinions? Makes it look pretty big, doesn't it? It's bigger than some of the other homes.
No, that was-
Eddie, while we're
Yes.
doing that sort of depicting the two alternative additions, it might be better to show one than the other, as opposed to having them both on their screen at the same time.
Why isn't Mike saying anything?
He said he wasn't going to say it. Well, he can't because he's got his bushes on there.
Mr. Lemke, do you want me to show? Do you want me to show anything in particular?
Well, I was thinking, okay, this is roughly what the applicant proposes. Then maybe if you could take that off and show it, the alternative from the rear of the house and the kind of the west side.
Okay.
Yeah. Because as I get it, under no set of circumstances are we talking about putting additions on off of both dimensions of the house.
Question, would it be that far to the west or would it be more to the middle of the house?
It'd be more to the middle. Oh, I'm sorry. It would still start where you had it started. The ending point would be the middle of the house.
So it would extend west of the current house line.
No, it'd stay even with the west side.
Even
But
with
it-
the west side. Okay.
Yeah, but it would extend to the north.
Okay.
It would just look kind of odd like that too.
It's better on the other side.
Just looks more uniform. I guess.
So just for reference, the proposal is approximately 24 by 24 in real life, in what's actually being proposed. This here is about 28 by 15. So this is a little bit off. This is a little bit longer than what it is or is proposed to be, slightly narrower
And
as well.
that's, if we did do the addition to the back, that's more likely the size of it. It might go back
Okay.
about 16, 17 feet, but we would be a little bit wider and not as deep, just similar to this drawn right now.
This is Jerry Rose again. I will tell you, I do not like that at all.
Mr. Holte just sent a message that he's having some trouble with his audio. So he is going to try and log out and log back in.
Who was it that just made the comment?
This is Jerry Rose.
Okay, and your comment again, Mr. Rose?
I do not care for that at the back of the house at all. First of all, I think it's just going to look out of place. Second of all, it just blocks all the view that we have back there. And again, on that side of the house is tight, as you can see already.
This is Bob Sander. just to create a conversation, am I correct in thinking that there seems to be some special circumstances in that to provide handicap access as well as a limited amount of funds for this venture?
That's correct.
I'm looking for a comment from some board members.
Well, this is Eddie with staff. That would definitely qualify conceivably as a hardship. It wasn't in the original applicant's materials, but it would be considered a hardship. Would be my interpretation, but.
Excuse me, tell me what I'm missing here, but I'm looking at part of the materials we got for this. And it looks like subdivision A, under 308 there, whether special conditions or circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land or structure involved, not generally applicable to other lands or structures in the same zoning district. Doesn't that kind of call for comparison to other properties in this district to make that analysis?
Those are better words than what I was going to choose, but I completely agree with you. The special circumstances are supposed to be associated with the property, not with the individual owner and the particular project. But I do agree with Mr. Sander. It's a consideration for this owner and for this particular property.
Eddie, I've logged back in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is there additional commentary from the public? Any residents that would like to comment? Okay, at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second, Hayes.
Thank you. Any additional discussion by the board relative to this case? Okay, can I get a motion to approve or deny this variance request?
This is Hayes. I move that this board deny this in the case VC 2020-008 due to the I find the staff comments to be completely in line, and there are feasible alternatives to the placement. Even though they are more costly, they are feasible.
Lemke, I'll second that motion.
Okay, Eddie, let's do a roll call.
Okay. Mr. Sander.
What are we voting on again? What's the wording? To deny it?
We are voting on. Yeah, go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, sorry. Yep, it's a motion to deny the variance request based upon staff's comments, as well as the fact that it appears that viable alternatives exist.
I agree.
Mr. Holte?
I agree.
Mr. Lemke?
Yes, on the motion.
Mrs. Holman?
No.
And Mr. Hayes?
Yes, on the motion.
Okay, and the motion passes 4-1.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie. I don't see any other business for us to address tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Lemke.
Second, Hayes.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Do you want to vote on adjournment?
Yeah, roll call, Eddie, sorry.
All right. Mr. Sander,
Yes.
Mr. Holty,
Yes.
Mrs. Holman,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
and Mr. Lemke.
Yes.
Meeting
Now
is
the
adjourned.
Mr.
Oh, sorry.
Holty, Mr. Holty, you did a fine job.
Thank you. You,
Under difficult circumstances, I might add.
Ray, you know I nominated you for this and you weren't around, so at any rate, thank you.
You did fine.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Take
All right,
care.
have a good
everyone.
evening.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Good night.